The accident that we will be talking about today will be listed in the top 3 disasters involving a school bus in the state of Kentucky and would be the catalyst to change bus safety laws. Come along with us as we dive into the horrific accident that claimed the lives of 26 students and the bus driver in Floyd County, Kentucky. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine. Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up that time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine for our flight back in time, but it convinces the YouTube algorithm that we need a bigger vehicle to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. The bus accident. It is not very often that we step out of our usual historical time span. However, we felt that this story did need to be covered. It is with the utmost respect that we try to honor those who were lost during the bus accident. We also honor the survivors and all the families and community of Floyd County, Kentucky. May you continue to heal from this tragic event. Bus number 27 had just been serviced and was ready to make its route on a cold, cloudy morning of February 28, 1958. According to the Roots Web article about the accident, the usual bus, and not the one involved in the accident, had safety issues. The old bus was described by one student who had ridden the old bus the day before the accident as having its rear emergency door wired shut. Bus number 27 did not have that issue. The bus pulled out on schedule to make its morning route at 7 a.m. that morning with John Alex DeRosset as its driver. Their usual morning bus route started at Cow Creek, picked up students in the communities of Sugarloaf and Emma, then ended at the Consolidated Schools in Prestonsburg, Kentucky. This morning, they would never make it to the school. The last stop that the bus would make was around 8:10 a.m., 3 miles east of Prestonsburg at the mouth of Notley Holler. DeRosset pulled off the side of the road and picked up 8 students. The bus was now almost filled to its capacity. These would be the last students to board bus number 27 that day. 200 feet away from its last bus stop was a pickup that was stuck in the mud. It was mired in the ground to its axles, and a wrecker that was driven by Donald Dutney Horn was pulling the truck out of a ditch line. There are many reports from the surviving students that the bus had plenty of time to stop. The boys in the back of the bus, according to the survivors, were taking bets on whether or not the bus and the wrecker would collide. The bus struck the wrecker on the left rear bumper and fender. The bus then swerved hard left toward the river, struck a parked car, and narrowly missed a trailer. This trailer was owned by Benny Blackburn, a notorious Floyd County bootlegger. The bus then slid front first down the river embankment to a swollen Big Sandy River. One of the main causes to there being so many tragic deaths associated with this bus crash has been the conditions of the La Vista Fork of the river. According to the Evening Star on February 28, 1958, quote, river 20 feet high. La Vista Fork, where the bus sank, is 20 feet above normal stage because of the heavy rains the last 2 days, unquote. The bus hit the water and bobbed for 1 to 5 minutes before it began to sink. It is estimated that it went out 30 feet from the embankment. DeRosset was knocked unconscious from the accident, and water began pouring into the broken windshield. Considered to be one of the heroes of the accident, 13-year-old Isaac Vanderpool got up from his seat and pulled the lever and kicked the rear emergency door open. Children began scrambling out of the wrecked bus as it started sinking, only to find that they had to swim against the swift current to reach land. There were only 16 children who made it to the shore that day, 6 of which had to be hospitalized. The current was so swift that the bus rode 250 yards downstream from where the bus entered the water. Finding the bus and its passengers. Parents and volunteers came to the scene of the accident as quickly as they could. But having taken place on a narrow mountain road, the accident recovery would pose many obstacles. According to the Evening Star on February 28, 1958, quote, Mrs. Herschel Warrens, wife of the Floyd County Sheriff, said her husband, state police, school board members, and, quote, nearly everybody else, unquote, was at the scene. Respirators and other equipment were brought in from Paintsville and Pikeville, along with wreckers and salvage equipment. State police appeared by radio for drivers to keep the road open so that the workers and equipment could have a clear path, unquote. It would take 53 hours for the Army engineers and volunteers to find the bus. According to the Hazard Herald, the Floyd County bus had been found approximately at 1 p.m. that day, 200 feet and across the river from where it first entered the water. At 3:25 p.m. on March 2nd, 1958, the bus was pulled up on shore. The bus was severely battered by the currents rolling it along the river's stony bed. There were 15 bodies found inside of the now mud-filled bus. Early the next day, the 16th victim was found downriver, wedged against the log. The U.S. Navy brought a team of divers into the area to help with the search. Big searchlights were used on small boats to patrol the swollen river. The search area went as far as 4 miles downriver to help find the 11 lost children. The parents stood vigil at the West Prestonsburg Bridge, where a giant net was spread across the river to help find the children. There were 16 families whose children were involved in the accident. 7 of those families had multiple children who were there. Some of them would not be found for days later. It would take 69 days for the last person, a 9-year-old little girl, to be found. This goes to how determined the mountain families were. They never stopped looking until the last person was found and recovered. Now the community could truly mourn, knowing that there were no longer anyone missing. Here is a list of the students and bus driver who lost their lives in the 1958 Floyd County school bus disaster. From this point forward, their names will be read several times. However, we found this information and thought that it would be appropriate to give their names, ages, and communities. Doris Faye Burchett, 15, of Emma. James Edison Carey, 9, of Emma. Glenda Mae Cisco, 17, and her brother Kenneth Forrest Cisco, 14, of Sugarloaf. Sandra Faye Klein, 8, and her sister Paulette Klein, 9, of Lancer. Imogene Darby, 17, of Cow Creek. Linda Darby, 14, of Cow Creek. The driver, John Alex DeRosset, 17, of Water Gap. James Edward Goebel, 12, his brother John Spencer Goebel, 11, and sister Anna Laura Goebel, 9, of Emma. Jane Carroll Harris, 14, of Emma. John Harlan Hughes, Jr., 13, of Emma. Margaret Louise Hunt, 15, of Cow Creek. Bucky Ray Jarrell, 14, and his sister Katie Carroll Jarrell, 13, of Sugarloaf. Marcella Jervis, 14, of Emma. Montaigne Jervis, 15, of Endicott. Thomas Roosevelt Jervis, 13, of Buffalo Creek. Catherine Justice, 15, of Endicott. Nanny Joyce McPeat, 17, of Lancer. Joyce Ann Matney, 14, and her sister Rita Cheryl Matney, 8, of Lancer. James L. Meade, Jr., 9, of Lancer. James Thomas Owsley, 15, of Lancer. Randy Scott Wallen, 17, of Lancer. The Memorials and Citations. It would take several decades before the community would come together to place memorials for the lost on the school bus that day. There are now several memorials, and we will read 2 of them. We realize that we say the names of the victims of the bus crash several times. We do this for their memory so that they are never lost to history. The first memorial is at the bus crash site. It reads as follows. Quote, in memory of the lives we lost on Friday, February 28, 1958. Doris Faye Burchett, James Edison Carey, Glenda Mae Cisco, Kenneth Forrest Cisco, Sandra Faye Klein, Paulette Klein, Imogene Darby, Linda Darby, James Edward Goebel, John Spencer Goebel, Anna Laura Goebel, Jane Carol Harris, John Harlan Hughes, Margaret Louise Hunt, Bucky Ray Jarrell, Katie Carol Jarrell, Marcella Jervis, Montaigne Jervis, Thomas Roosevelt Jervis, Catherine Justice, Nanny Joyce McPeak, Joyce Ann Matney, Rita Cheryl Matney, James L. Meade Jr., James Thomas Owsley, Randy Scott Wallen, John Alex DeRosset, driver. Lest we forget, on Friday, February 28, 1958, at 8:10 a.m., Floyd County School Bus number 27, transporting Prestonsburg Elementary and Prestonsburg High School students from the communities of Calf Creek, Cow Creek, Buffalo, Sugarloaf, and Goble Roberts, Kentucky, plunged over the embankment near Notley Hollow into the rain-swollen, icy waters of the Big Sandy River. 22 children survived. 26 children and the school bus driver drowned. A diver from Charleston, West Virginia, located the bus Sunday, March 2nd, 1958, and the last child was recovered from the river. Saturday, May 10th, 1958, 72 days after the accident. The 23rd Psalm, quote, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, unquote. There is another memorial that is dedicated to those who were lost in the bus crash. It stands before the Prestonsburg schools. It begins with a great cross that reads, quote, in loving memory, unquote. There are 2 black slabs that contain the exact words and reads in the same manner as the previous memorial we just read. A citation was given by the families of the children who perished in the Prestonsburg school bus disaster to the Kentucky National Guards who assisted in the tragedy. Each of the families signed their names to this citation with their thanks for the volunteers for doing all they could do to recover their lost children. These heroes worked tirelessly to find the missing school bus and the victims that were washed down the river. It must have been very hard on these volunteers, as there was no such things as services for mental health at that time. Kentucky makes changes for safety. It would take another bus accident that occurred in Carrollton in 1988, which had a 28-person death toll, for Kentucky to recognize that there needed to be changes to the buses themselves. The state of Kentucky is now the only state to require that each bus has 9 exits that can be used in case of an emergency. This is the highest number of emergency exits required by any state or Canadian province. Because of the crash that happened in Floyd County, Kentucky, the community formed the Floyd County Emergency and Rescue Squad, founded by volunteers on April 27, 1958. To this day, this remains at a 100% volunteer participation organization. Its purpose is to assist local fire departments, and emergency medical services with auto extraction, search and rescue, fire ground support, and EMS first response. Its main role is primarily water rescue for the area. Sounds from the river. It has been said early in the morning on February 28th of every year that you could still hear the terrified cries of the children who drowned in the school bus crash. It has also been said that you can hear those screams on foggy mornings. There have been no ghostly apparitions or myths associated with the crash. Only the screams have been reported. While we cannot discount those who have heard these sounds, we cannot say for sure that they came from this tragic event. I attended Prestonsburg Elementary School from the 2nd through the 4th grade in the 1970s. From what I can find, our elementary school no longer stands, which is sad. I still remember many of my schoolmates and say a huge hello to Jenny, BD, Teresa, Steve, Mike, and Doug. I can remember the tales of the screams being heard. When I look back upon that time, I think that it was simply could have been young children on the playground trying to scare each other. But, then again, I have heard these rumors as well as an adult. If you have heard the ghostly screams coming from the place that the bus accident happened, let us know in the comments section down below. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the myths and legends of the Appalachian Mountains. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. Please be sure to double check that you are subscribed, as some of our viewers are finding that they are no longer subscribed to our channel. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries in Appalachian history.